Welcome to the first ever Valley Sports Plug Cardinals recap. Today is Sunday, September 11th, 2022. I got Michael Benjamin and VSP Tallman here with me today to break down everything that happened in week one. It was a bummer. Kansas City Chiefs came into town. The final score was 44-21. The Cardinals lost to the Chiefs. A very unimpressive performance. On paper, it doesn't look terrible if you're just looking at the Cardinal stats, but if you look at the Chiefs as well, it's not a good story. Kyler Murray, 193 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 22 of 34, had 5 carries for 29 yards. They had him scrambling all game. Some standouts: Greg Dortch, 7 receptions for 63 yards. Hollywood Brown managed 4 receptions, 43 yards, and 1 touchdown that Kyler Murray dropped into him in the back of the end zone there. Zach Ertz with only 2 receptions, but he grabbed a touchdown as well. On the other side, for the Chiefs, they only punted twice in this game, and that was apparent. Patrick Mahomes, 30 passing completions on 39 attempts, 360 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Just incredible. He was getting everything he wanted out there. It seemed like the corners could not keep up. We're going to break that down here. Travis Kelce, 8 receptions, 121 yards and 1 touchdown for himself. Juju Smith-Schuster making his first appearance on the Chiefs with 6 receptions and 79 yards. I really thought Clyde Edwards-Helaire stood out. I thought he did more damage. I mean, still 7 carries, 42 yards, 3 receptions, 32 yards, and those 2 touchdowns to boot. So, fellas, we got to talk about it. It's the Cardinals recap. Mike, I'm going to kick it to you first. We'll just broad overview. What was your initial reaction to the game?
So this one was just a slow start, and there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about here today. My first initial thought process in what I was seeing on the field was, oh man, we probably needed those preseason games to get those guys out there and moving and really getting some camaraderie with, guys like Hollywood Brown. Greg Dortch seemed like he was the number one receiver for us with, 7 catches for 63 yards. But the Chiefs, man, and Patrick Mahomes, he's such a surgeon. He threw to 9 different receivers. Obviously, we were wondering who was going to be the main guy once Tyreek Hill left to the Dolphins, and it was obviously Travis Kelce with 8 receptions, 121 yards, and a touchdown. He was all over the field. But that offense truly showed some of the concerns that we had, and rightfully so. Who was going to step up in that pass rush? 0 sacks today. Didn't seem like Patrick Mahomes was really pressured too often. And the times that we were getting to the quarterback, they had those easy checkdowns or quick decisions to get the ball out of his hand really fast. And then our receivers and our linebacking core were struggling to guard anybody today. Isaiah Simmons gave up that first touchdown to Travis Kelce early, just left in the dust. I was joking with you guys too. Even the one good play we had with the fumble forced by Greg Dortch or by Dennis Gardeck, it was a 25-yard wide open pass that Gardeck was just able to get his hand in there and poke it away. So some of the glaring weaknesses are already showing. And obviously it's week 1. You got to work out the kinks, but something to focus on going into this next week and in the next couple of weeks to start this season.
Yeah, no, 100%. We got the Raiders coming in next week. We got to get ready. Got to shake this one off. It hurts. It stings. But at the end of the day, you got to have a short memory. Tallman, you said you were at the bar taking notes watching this game. What did you see out there?
I saw a lot of what Mike said. The biggest thing I had just was watching that the first possession by the Chiefs, and they literally handed off the ball like 4 times in a row to Edwards-Helaire, and he had like so much room to run because you read off his stat. I bet you right now he got 30 of those yards in that first possession in the first quarter. Like he ran all over us just to start. So I'm sitting there like, okay, well, this is great. This is a great way to start. That was bad. Granted, they didn't have that much room after that. But my biggest takeaway was how, yet again, we can't cover the tight end. I mean, we knew coming in,
Yep.
Kelsey was going to get targeted hard, but just watching Simmons try to cover him, well, it was tough to watch. And there's even a couple times where he was covering Juju, and it's like, why is he? Why did it have to come to him dropping back into coverage, and he got burned every single time. And I know that was the podcast we did yesterday. That was the biggest thing. Okay, so who was going to have a really good game for them to win today? And the defensive player we agreed on was Isaiah Simmons, and I think he did not have a good game. Um, Other than that, there was one time I think you guys were busy at this time, but Zach Allen had two penalties on the same play in the first half, where he was offsides and then he had a roughing the passer play. And going back, I'm saying this because of Isaiah Simmons, and Isaiah Simmons literally had a ball interception hit him right in the chest and he dropped it. Granted, it wouldn't have mattered because of Zach Allen, but the ball literally hit him right in the chest and he couldn't catch it. Like it was like a clear, like easy interception. And that was kind of disheartening to watch, and that kind of fed into how Isaiah Simmons did not show up today, did not do his part. Um, there wasn't a lot of positives. And then when we went behind 14-0 really quick, we're 14-0 at the 4-minute mark in the first quarter. Like we went down so fast. And then that next possession for the Cardinals after that, we scored on it with that James Conner rushing touchdown. But the only reason that possession stayed alive was because of Kyler Murray. And he turned around, he ran, he got all of his rushing yards on that possession. So it was, I don't know, it looked like they weren't ready. Like you said, they probably should have got a little bit of practice in the preseason because we looked really rusty starting out, and it really showed. So it was hard to watch. And ultimately, later on in the game, it was impossible to watch. Um, I have nothing but bad things to say, so I'll kick it to you.
Yeah, so after we went into that hole for the 14-0, Kyler Murray did what you're supposed to do as a leader of your team. You rallied the troops, you went on a good drive, and you were able to punch it in, I think with like a 2-yard rushing touchdown by James Conner. Um, then it was just kind of that stalemate football, not much going on. And we had another opportunity to get a little bit. Oh, no. Okay. So then it was 14-7, and we have a 4th and 2 on the goal line to make a stop. And we don't know who's covering the halfback coming out of the backfield. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire just walks in for nothing.
He was wide open.
Those are those kind of just mental mistakes early on in the year. If you're going to be the team that makes those, you're going to be the one that ends up falling on your ass.
Yeah.
And then we have another opportunity in the last 2 minutes of the first half to come down and at least make it a 1-score game. And James Conner fumbles the football, but thankfully he falls on it. But
I
then
don't know how he got that.
Greg Dortch makes a nice catch, but it gets popped out, and it's 3rd and 15. We get a little bit closer, go for it on 4th and 2, and Kyler Murray can't see Greg Dortch coming off of the side, off his wheel route. He tripped a little bit, but once again, the pressure was on him so fast and so often throughout this game. He really didn't have any time to make his reads downfield, and he was just having to roll out of the pocket and try and find something, within your line of sight. And you're normally really limited when it comes to that. And, one of the guys that we talked about yesterday too, Andy Isabella, basically getting outplayed by Greg Dortch and not having a good share of plays and being on the field. I mean, the one play that I remember was when Kyler Murray is rolling out to the side and he throws a rocket to Andy Isabella, but Andy Isabella is standing there waiting for the football, and it almost gets intercepted. But, the Chiefs defender made a good flying play at it. But you got to come back towards the ball, man. You got to help out your quarterback when he's distressed. You can't be waiting for those kind of things. So that's probably why Andy Isabella was sitting primarily for Greg Dortch. But it was just those kind of things. the opportunities to cut it to a 1-possession lead, you don't get it. Then the Chiefs come down, surgically take their time to get a field goal right before the half. We come out of halftime slow once again, get a quick first down, but then Kyler Murray takes a sack on 3rd and 10. The ball goes right back over to the Chiefs, and they go on a 6-minute drive and score. And before you know it, it's 37-7. And this game was over with before you could even blink your eyes. So those touchdowns that Kyler Murray had at the end of the game are basically moot points because you're so far out of it. It didn't really matter when it came down to the game.
Yeah.
So.
And my observation watching some of those plays is that the Chiefs were slow to get set and not really putting their full effort into it there in the second half. But I mean, it kind of sounds like you're right. Those possessions you're specifically mentioning, 23-7 at half. That's 2 possessions, really 3 possessions, but a whole half ahead of you where you can make up that deficit. You can start playing better, and they never did. They didn't come out and ever really have a chance. And one thing I noticed specifically watching the Cardinals defense is not wrapping up, not getting guys down. They were plenty of times where they should have wrapped them up, taken them down, but they let them run off an extra 5, 6, 7 yards. They couldn't tackle at all. And so that's the type of shit. Those are my final thoughts on it. That's the type of shit we got to clean up. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. It's just going to take some good leadership. Cody, I want to know what your last thoughts are, but also, did you think it was a problem to have Trace McSorley go in and finish that game? Or you think that was a smart thing to let Kyler not get hit anymore?
No, I don't think it was a problem. I knew that was coming. I mean, just giving off the game flow. I knew Trace, our favorite quarterback, was coming in. So I'm not worried about that. I mean, you could tell we were done. It was over. So no, I don't think that's a big deal. I mean, we lost that game after the first half. I mean, going to halftime, you could tell it was over just by the momentum. It was terrible. You want my final thoughts on that game? Cardinals are soft, man. If we're gonna beat the Raiders next week, we're soft. Kyler Murray needs to wake up. He needs to figure it out. I mean, it takes you to the garbage time to throw Zach Ertz a fucking pass in the end zone. I mean, come on, what's going on? And then we're gonna sit there. Greg Dortch is our leading receiver in that game. Where was Hollywood? Same thing with Hollywood. Oh, you got to throw a pass after you scramble, and he's got to dive for it to the left side of the end zone to get a touchdown in garbage time. We were already losing by 30 points at that time. Like, give the ball to your playmakers. I don't know what was going on. Connor had nowhere to run. Our defense was soft. Like you said, they couldn't tackle. I mean, like there was one running play where it was a wide receiver screen where he was 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage and he made contact at the line of scrimmage, but he still got 8 yards. It was like, what is going on? So they couldn't wrap up. They couldn't take him down. It was just, they were soft. It was hard to watch. It was terrible. But props to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I think one of you guys called him a surgeon. That cat can ball, man. He even on his first touchdown throw, he got hit by Golden and he fell back on his left hand and he hurt his left hand and he had it all taped up for the rest of the game. But I mean, you could just tell him just on the run, throwing the ball. I mean, he was on point. I don't think he even missed a pass the entire game. Granted, he might have overthrown somebody, but he made it happen when it counted. So props to him. Obviously, they're the better football team, and we just have to work harder, And it starts with Kyler Murray, I think. I think he could have used his feet a lot more to help us out. But at the end of the day, I just don't think they were ready to go, and I think it really goes back to them not being ready, them not being prepared, them not actually playing together as a unit, them not. Yeah, maybe they're in practice sometimes doing, 11 on 11s, but why didn't we play them in the preseason? Why weren't they at least doing something? Go out there for a possession or 2 or 3 or whatever, So that really showed today, and it was disheartening. And I wrote on here in my notes, I said Kermit the Frog throws to Kelsey for 25 yards, first down, Cardinals 36-yard line. with 14 seconds left in the second half. And so it's not just the players. It's the reason I said that was because Cliff Kingsbury, we're going for it on fourth down, and we get stuffed. I'm pretty sure we got stuffed on that, and we give it to them on their 46-yard line, and he bombs it for 26 yards, and then they kick that field goal going in the half. Now we're down 23-7 when it could have been 20-7. So how about you just play like there was what I wrote on here? What was it? There was 40 seconds left, and we go for it on fourth down at midfield. Dude, just punt it. Play for the second half. Go into the second half down 13 points. That's 2 possessions. That's 2 touchdowns. Like, why do you have to go in there and give the ball back to him and let him throw it to Kelsey? He bombed it for 25 yards, and then they kicked that field goal, and we went even farther down. So that was also hard to watch. Not just the players, like I said, it's also was that call by Cliff right there was not a good call. They should have just punted it away, played for the second half, try to start over, start fresh. So,
whoa, those were your final thoughts?
I got more.
So my final thoughts is it's week 1, right? You have to temper expectations in regards to what this team is going to be. The one thing that I'm worried about is the things that we talked about that we were concerned about were glaring problems to start the season. Our cornerbacks couldn't keep up with guys. Isaiah Simmons now has the green dot, but he looked like he was taking incorrect angles on tackles, couldn't stick with the tight end.
Lost, dude.
Marco Wilson was getting picked on, and the pass rush wasn't there. And who's going to step up on the offensive end now that DeAndre Hopkins isn't there? Those were the concerns we had, and they were glaring to start. But this team just needs to get some more football under their belt and start building for the stretch run of the season. Because exactly like we talked about yesterday, hopefully we can have the window of opportunity and a good push at the end of the year instead of at the beginning and then wilting away. So temper your expectations. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. But make sure that we're watching the areas of concern because we need to see if they're going to improve week in and week out.
Yeah, 100%. A lot to keep tabs on. They clearly have to make adjustments. 0-1, going to play the Raiders, but the good news is the Raiders are also 0-1. They did put up a decent fight against the Chargers in their own game, but it's a new week. You never know. I hope they can, like I said, I hope they can make the adjustments. I hope they can get healthy, maybe get Antonio Hamilton back on the cornerback side, and maybe did JJ Watt play today? I didn't notice him out there.
Nope.
He didn't at all, did he?
No, he's not.
So
Nope.
Yeah, it's tough. So they got to get healthy. They got to get better. But thank you guys. We're going to do this every week when the Cardinals play. After the game, we're going to break it down for you. This was our very first week. They played the Chiefs. They lost 44-21. So we'll see you out here next week, and have a good one.
Peace.